he wrote much more than just about cockroaches. It was also about the absurdity of life and everything else that he tended to write.
Okay.
So, a relative of mine lost his iPhone.
To
Rel-
cockroaches?
Relative of, pretty close. Relative of mine did not know his pen for various medical reasons. So, to complicate matters, instead of waiting for me to do something, my father went out and bought a new phone for a different carrier. So, not only did I have to somehow get them to turn things around and establish the PIN with someone else's identity and a power of attorney in my hands, not only did I have to do that, I came up against the most absurd and believable database problem ever.
Absurd and believable.
When they signed my relative up for service, they used his nickname, which doesn't match his driver's license.
Well, hang on just a second now. You're going to say that in some official government data or official database, they've got the name he gave his wiener?
I did not say dick.
You absolutely did.
It sounded very
You
close to
absolutely did say dick name.
Nickname. He used his nickname, which then wouldn't match his license, which then the computer shat a brick because it could not verify him. So I ended up driving from the AT&T store to my dad's house to pick up a driver's license, to come back to the AT&T store for us to fight this, for them to do all these turn barrels, blow things up and everything else. And then finally it was go home, call this number and see if this works. It's just, it was the most absurd bullshit ever. It just cost like, I don't know, 40 miles of driving, hours and hours of time on home with people and everything. It's just fucking awful.
Well, let me pass my story of weirdness like that to you. My wife, when the kids were younger, the two youngest ones, their father was on Social Security, so they got Social Security benefits from him. They had to be registered with the Social Security Administration. They got benefits from them because of him. And for reasons unknown to anyone, when they were like below the age of 7 or 8, 9, 10, something like that, they decided that they were each married to one another and canceled their benefits.
Wait, what?
Exactly. So not only were they married to their siblings, they were married like under the age of 10. And that's what the Social Security Administration just decided out of the blue. And it took her months of going back and forth and doing things to get it fixed.
So my advice to everybody is, number one, don't ever lose your goddamn PIN with AT&T, because holy shit. And number two, do not ever let them use a name on your account that doesn't match your license, or you will be totally effed. And it will take acts from deities to make, everything right. So, just
And for
passing that
God's
along.
sake, don't use your dick name.
Howdy, folks, and welcome to another episode of the Dead Robot Society. I am Paul E. Cooley. Joining me today, as always, is Veronica Jaguar and Terry Mixon. So how are your dick names today?
I'm going to wait for Veronica to answer that first.
You know what? You'll have to get that answer from. I'll have to give that name out, in the after show. So that's gonna be a patrons only.
Okay, we're definitely I think what we're going to do now, what we're taking away from this is that the MG has a name for it. Now that's all we really needed to know, and now that's where we're going to be. Okay.
Why are you bringing the Mighty Ginger into this?
Well, obviously he's the holder of it. You don't have one, so.
Okay.
Oh, but his stick handling is divine.
First of all, I'm not going to have this conversation outside After Dark.
Second of all,
Tune into After Dark, everyone, where we reveal our secret dick names.
Did I already do the howdy folks thing, or should I start
You
that over?
already did. You already did. I would just like to say that, various phallic representations are valid, and I am not discriminating between those that are attached to you and those that are not. So,
How the hell are you, V?
My wiener has a first name.
it's OSCAR. Oh, I love it.
Oh God.
Well, we were going to talk about branding, so there we go. There's a brand for you right there.
Well,
That's why I mentioned Dick name, and suddenly you showed up in the chat. I don't know what to tell you.
I'm pretty sure that Antoine's not Dick name. It's more like the back end name. Isn't he the one always focused on butts?
Butt stuff, yeah.
So yeah.
Immediately off the rails. Well, okay, so for like 2 or 3 episodes in a row, folks, we were very good, and we stuck to topic. Today, apparently, chaos has already decided to descend into the mess. So, big surprise.
Yeah.
V, let's try this again.
I'm good. I still booked, still working through projects and recording things, and planning way too many summer activities and trips and obligations, but doing okay. Got my first audiobook gig booked for the third quarter, which is that's how busy I am. I am already starting to book for September. But that's great because then I know money is going to be coming in. What else? And strangely enough, I have been working on redoing my pseudonyms website because she is going to be getting a little more exposure and work in the second and third quarter. So, yeah, I might have a vested interest in this episode. Maybe.
I thought you were typing another novel. Instead, you were just trying to put your fucking name tag in there. What the hell? All right, Terry, since we can't count on you to be, a good boy unless you're babbling, please, what the hell's up with you?
I'm in the groove of writing the book that I'm in. Finally got myself onto the track of getting it going, and I'm happy with where it's going. I'm on schedule. All things are well.
I hate you. So much.
The book that came out last week came out and peaked at like 124 on the Amazon all-time paid list. So high watermark for that one. Oh, a book I talked about last week. I ordered a copy of it, and boy, it's all chunked up with stickers and whatnot on it.
Oh, yeah.
Little bitty hardback.
That one's seen a few libraries.
Seen a few libraries, so now I've got the one with the Mercury golf clubs and whatnot in it, so I can reread it at my leisure.
The Mercury golf clubs. Is that like golf clubs made of mercury, or
no?
Golf clubs
They needed the mercury out of the golf clubs to open the lock to get into the secret facility that all the runners were basically going to in this post-apocalyptic world.
Okay.
It was just a plot element. It's one of the plot elements that I remembered, and I've flipped to the back far enough to look and make sure that this is indeed that story. So now I can reread it and figure out all the rest of it.
Gotcha.
That's awesome. I love it.
It's when you read something 40, 50 years ago, you're like, I don't remember anything about the story except this one thing. And then you've got to try to figure out what it is based on that one thing.
I understand that. I run into that constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Run into that with movies too. It's just, what was the name of that damn thing? It's rough. I can remember the story of it, not always the names or anything else, or even what decade it was made in. Which is ridiculous.
The 80s is the right answer for everything. It's all made in the 80s.
Well,
Well, what have
I
you
could
been up
go
to?
into all the details of all the sort of things that have happened. In the
I
last
hear
week.
you're building a bunker.
I am not building a bunker.
That's not what
Why
I've
aren't you
heard.
building a bunker?
There is a Texas tradition I'll tell you about, which is when somebody dies or can no longer keep track of things. There's a dividing of firearms. So that party occurred according to Texas tradition, and we had a, so I'm ordained in the church of that, so it wasn't really a problem.
So now you can, with fervor, say "Yippee ki and add the appropriate word afterward.
Quite possibly, quite possibly, quite probably.
You
That's
don't know
just
what the
one of
word
the-
is?
No, I know
Yippee-ki-yay,
what the word
motherfucker.
is, but that doesn't. That the movie's set in New York.
Yeah, but it's got all the guns in it, so it's appropriate. I can see Paul going ahead and saying that.
Did I get
Your guns are from New York City. New York City.
Yeah.
No, I don't have an AR.
I
That
do.
was just one of the
want
many,
it?
many.
Oh,
Do
that's
you
right.
want to? Do you want to see it?
No. We don't want you to show off your penis extension. Oh, God. Penis extension displayed.
There you
The
go.
fact it's over by your typewriter area kind of makes me wonder exactly at what point something terrible is going to happen.
It's never going to happen unless somebody breaks into my house, and then something terrible is going to happen.
While he's
But it's not going to happen to me.
while he's typing.
Well, hopefully not. In any case, I still have to build it out. I've got to do things like get a site for it and other things. It's not complete.
It's a skeleton at this point.
Yeah.
As long
If
as your
it's more
cats
flesh on it.
never develop thumbs, I think you'll be fine.
Well, since it's not loaded, has no ammunition in it, it doesn't matter what the cats actually do to it.
Point.
So there have been a lot of things going on, and what I've been trying to do is get back into Signal Decay by reading it and not loathing it. But I think I came to a road where I need to go ahead and take the path I didn't want to take, which is the harder path. But I think it's the path I need to take. So I'm excited to get to that if I ever get to that. So that's where things are with me, besides the fact that this week or last week was apparently the 10-year anniversary of the street, which was kind of scary and kind of cool and kind of depressing.
Well, it's at least when I got my 2 copies of it. So I don't know when it actually came out, but 10 years ago, I got my copies.
I think it came out shortly before Balticon or at Balticon.
Yeah, let me go look through my
remember.
Balticon photos.
Oh, no.
See what I can find here.
I kept one of those 2 and gave the other one to my oldest stepdaughter, and her response after reading it is, "What's wrong with him?" That's it. That was your response when I told you back when she said it too.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, what the hell else am I supposed to say exactly? So many things are wrong with me. So many things. Uh-oh. He's plunging
No.
through. God only knows.
I am, but I also realized 2014 was also the first live hockey game I ever went to, which was a Minnesota. It was a Pittsburgh at Minnesota Wild, because I was traveling for work and I was in Minneapolis, and the MG said, "Hey, you want to go see a hockey game?" And I went, "Sure, why not?" We got a good price on tickets and wound up sitting like 5 rows from the ice, and it was really, really cool. Why does my
I've never been to a hockey game.
Oh, they're fun.
prescribed
fun.
violence? There's just something about it.
You also
Oh,
never realize
and,
just how fast those guys move.
Maybe the next time I go to Vegas, I'll have to go to one.
You should.
What were you saying,
You'll
Megan?
get. My team is on to the Eastern Conference finals, so go Panthers. Sorry about the
Panthers.
guys.
You're going to blame Valerie Nishushkin for that.
Valery Nishushkin, I guess he's a player of some kind. That's a great name, by
Not
the way.
anymore. He's now been busted and is going into rehab
Oh,
for the third fucking time. But that put us a man down. It broke up a line. Fuck this. Asshole. Anyway. That's beside the point.
Yes. I have one picture. On here. Unfortunately, it's a very, very, very blurry picture of Paul wearing not one, but two rainbow colored tutus.
That's
Eh,
our Paul.
everybody's got that picture.
I know. That was a pretty big weekend.
Yeah, it was
At least
crazy
for me, that
weekend.
was a full Balticon weekend because that was also a launch party for Charlie Brown's Dirty Magic anthology.
Yeah.
And we had a launch party for Hidden Harbor Mysteries. That was Jay Smith wrote that, and a bunch of us did voices for the full cast there. So yeah, Balticon before it got all complicated.
Complicated. Tutu Ghoulie. You watch it there. Tutus are not my brand.
No,
So what is your brand? In fact, what is a brand at all?
Well, we could dissect the word and talk about branding irons. We could talk about branding from a marketing perspective. We could talk about branding as a sexual activity. We could talk about all sorts of things.
Branding
to do with
irons.
brand.
Have you ever used a branding iron?
No.
I
Not that I'll
have.
admit to.
I have. My father was a cattle rancher, and I was involved with the branding of the cattle before the ear tags came in, and I even have the brand that he used down in my garage.
That's scary.
It's stylized SH for his grandfather, for my grandfather, I guess, his father, Sam Houston Mixon.
Sam Houston Mixon.
Hey, he was from the age where that was common, my man.
oh my gosh,
Wow.
My father was 50 years older than I was. So his father would be 80 years older, 80-ish older. So add 50 to 80, that's 130 years ago that my grandfather was born. So yeah, that was very common around that time frame to have people named after historical figures.
That's frightening.
I guess that's a kind of branding too.
Brand on Sanderson. Look, dude, that was bad, even for you.
I would never brand myself for science or any other reason because that looks like some painful stuff. I was very happy when my father moved to using ear tags.
but
You know,
I
there
mean,
are some fraternities that have their own brands, right? And you
yes,
get branded.
Ooh, I think not.
Yeah, I think not.
Yes.
Fee, please go.
well, I mean, so brands are often what people like associate with you. That's one way to do a brand, and you can do it with like your genres. A lot of people brand by genre, or something just. In some cases, it is happy circumstance, and it just immediately that becomes associated with that person. So, like if we did like a rapid fire sort of thing and somebody held up a picture of a cat, which one of us is going to be recognized as cats being part of their brand? Surprise, it's probably the guy who's holding the cat.
What's the name of your publishing company, Terry?
Yowling Cat Press.
So there you
Enough
go.
said.
And I wear cat shirts when I'm going to public events. It literally is part of my brand.
Right. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Vivian Ferrari should always be wearing a red dress. That's just the way that is.
Hot, red, and fast.
Well, there's that, and I've been working on a new sort of thing because I want part of branding is, at least for me, it's not only the work that I do, but it's the work that I want to be known for. And
Dress for the job that you want.
exactly. And sometimes it takes a while to realize what you're good at or what makes you happy. And a lot of times people early on in their careers, when you're writing, if you're doing narration, if you're doing any kind of creative thing, you're throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. And I've realized that, there are a couple genres that Vivian is really good at and that I enjoy doing. And so like this black and red lip and the octopus stuff, I will often go to conferences or conventions, and there'll be one day where I dress as Vivian, and it's usually black corsets, boots. It's very much of that 90s sort. I attempt goth, but I'm a little probably too perky for it, and my eyeliner game is not on point.
Can you be goth without black lipstick? I'm not sure that that's allowed.
Yes.
No, you can.
Yes, you can.
Yeah,
There's
you can
not
do.
like a hard and fast rule about it.
No,
Okay.
you can actually do goth with all white.
Yes.
It's just
Wow.
Stunning.
It's a really cool aesthetic. Oh my gosh.
It's stunning if it's done right.
Yeah, but
I'll have to try that one day.
If you go like white lace, I'll send you some Pinterest links. You'll be good. But for Vivian, I try to brand for sports romance, mostly
Right.
football and hockey. For just to design for like dark fantasy sorts of stuff. Monster romance, hence the tentacles, because I know what I sound like and I know what I narrate, and I'm very good at it. What was the other thing? Oh, and then like paranormal romance. So vampires and werewolves and shifters and all those sorts of things. That's totally different from Veronica.
That makes sense.
Because
What is Veronica, though?
coffee and nerdy mom stuff. There's
And
red
nonfiction?
versus some. I don't do a lot of nonfiction yet, and if I do nonfiction, it's still more of like the nerdy self-help things. But I haven't done enough. I have nonfiction. You always need to go with like publishers more or less.
Mm-hmm.
But if I've talked to indie authors who do nonfiction, it usually is more of that like parenting, self-help, midlife crisis sort of thing.
Gotcha.
So, but your brand is how you represent yourself to your readers. It's how you represent yourself to me. If you're an author, it's not just representing to your readers, but it's representing to other authors. So
To the public, people you
to the
interface
public.
with.
Yeah. And to people you might want to collaborate with. So you've got, our anthologies. If people are looking to get a bunch of like-minded folks together, you aren't going to have, 7 people with varying levels of suspense and horror and one that's, puppies and rainbows and happily ever afters.
Military science fiction. And then we've got the puppies and unicorns.
But they're
With
badly
sawed-off shotguns. Powered combat armor.
I mean, I'm all for a good battle unicorn, but
Battle unicorn. Is that a sexual euphemism or?
No, that's actually a
No.
thing.
no, that's a She-Ra reference. But we'll leave it.
Okay. I'm out of
When the
it.
unicorn can run you through with that pointy little horn, that's a battle unicorn.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah. Terry, what the hell is your brand? Do you even have one?
Sure I do. My brand is writing exciting space opera that's military themed or just adventurous. And my personal brand, which is not my authorial brand, is to be the friendly, helpful guy that I am. There's not a whole lot of space between what I present to the world as me than what I actually am. I don't really conceal anything because, I am what I am. The only thing that I do is in social media and podcasts or out in public, I keep the controversial subjects to a minimum. I have political views just like everyone else, and I decide not to talk about them. I made the decision early on that I'm not going to get bogged down in dividing my audience into people that point fingers at me or don't point fingers at me, like some authors do who make themselves lightning rods for political controversy. And I decided that was not me, and I didn't want any part of that. It doesn't change what I believe, but it means that I don't think it has a place for me in a professional setting.
All right. And how did you build that brand exactly, or how do you show that brand off?
I kind of stumbled into building that brand. as far as showing it off, I don't. I. It's really easy. I just be myself, and then restrict myself from talking about the things that are going to get people's emotions into an uproar.
Yeah, the easiest brand to maintain is the one that's authentic.
It's very easy for me to keep on brand because I'm not like an author that has this built up fake image of themselves that they portray to the public. That's got to be really hard to keep yourself from being there. If you can be yourself and you can find a way to take what makes you into your brand, like Cats. Cats is my brand. Cats is my life at home too. It is extremely easy for me to be on brand.
Yeah. And that's like with my pseudo, I'm not putting anything on. I like this sort of stuff. It's fun for me to play like this. I don't get to do it often, but I like reading paranormal romance. I like, reading monster romance. I like edgier stuff. And so dealing with those aspects of my pseudo, I'm just taking stuff I enjoy and I'm elevating that and then downplaying some of the other things that are associated with Veronica. Right. And yeah. So Paul,
the two really aren't in conflict either. It's just you're emphasizing different aspects of who you are.
Yeah, because let's face it, we're all crazy, complicated, and multifaceted.
Now, JR, of course, has to go ahead and throw in that ask what I put on pizza. I've had exactly one pineapple pizza, and it was not a pleasant experience. But I like torturing him with the idea of pineapple on pizza because he's sensitive when it comes to that. It's like a trigger for him. You just mention pineapple on pizza, and he starts frothing at the mouth, so that's fun.
Good. Block him for the rest of the episode because I love pineapple and pepperoni. That's awesome.
It may very well be that the place that I had it at didn't prepare it properly, and that's why it didn't come across great. I have no idea.
Oh, yeah. That's entirely possible.
The next time I come up there and visit, you're going to have to go ahead and take me to the place that serves the pineapple pizza you like.
See, I'm a fan of like the Greek style pizza where you've got the olives and banana peppers and a little bit of feta cheese, and that's some good stuff.
Take away the olives and I'm there.
Oh no, like
take away the olives.
No, if you've ever seen the meme where someone requested to like have the pizza filled to the edge with olives, like more olives than someone would like, they question their sanity. Yes, like mushrooms and black olives pizza, and I'm the only one in my house who likes it. So
when you say it like that, even though there's no connection to it, I keep thinking back to Bruce Willis in there was a heist movie that he was in that I can't quite think of the name of at this moment, where there was lots of singing involved.
Hudson Hawk, where he's sitting at like an Italian cafe and he orders something in either, I think it was Italian, and then at the end he tosses in, and bring some ketchup. And the guy loses his mind.
Well, rightfully so. So, Paul, I'm going to assume that at least, while you do have a cat, cats may not be part of your brand. So what is your brand?
My brand started out as the Fiend Master. I mean, that was basically back when folks discovered me. All the stories pretty much had serial killers or just complete lunatics throughout it. And then that was the brand, was the Fiend Master would come on and tell you a little bit about the story, and then we go into the story. Then the Fiend Master would usually have some comments afterwards. And I did that through Closet Treats, and I did that through some of the Garaga stuff too, but the Garaga was kind of its own universe, kind of split off from Fiends, even though they kind of collide in a way if you're reading carefully. So it morphed, and then since the Black, it's become more about suspense than it is about horror or anything else, and that's when we changed the tagline from we don't believe in happy endings to some mysteries shouldn't be solved. And it's a much better brand for the kind of fiction that I write now. So it makes more sense than that. And I have on my Patreon science fiction, fantasy, horror, but always suspenseful.
Do you know how I saw your brand when we first met, Paul?
Do tell.
You remember where we met? The little convention that they were having down here in Clear Lake.
Yeah.
You came up to me with your little long cards, your little cards that were like half length, half width cards, and you came up going, handing me a card, doing exactly like that. And so that is forever how I will remember you.
You know I'm
Oh my
bipolar,
gosh.
right?
I don't know what that was, but you left your little package of cards and I had to track you down and get them back to you. And so that is where our friendship began. Otherwise, I'm like, I might have gone, I don't know about that guy. He seems a little strange.
Well, duh, it's me we're talking about. So that's
Yeah,
the
that's
shift in brand. That's the shift in brand that I've had. Is basically like we've moved on from knives to things groping you out of the shadows and spaceships.
Ooh,
And it's basically
groping you out of the shadows. That is a totally different genre for you.
That was not the best word choice. You have to admit there were other synonyms I could have used there. Groping you out.
Fondling in the dark.
um
In the dark.
oh dear. Oh dear.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's basically where I'm keeping the brand for now. I don't know what else to do. If Garaga gets going at some point, then I'll have to kind of shift things a little bit for that. But I don't really plan on on having a persona or anything like that. I just basically do what I do now, and that's be me for the most part.
That's actually a really good way to do it.
And sometimes I have nothing to say for the podcast. I hate myself because last two books I haven't had anything to say at the very beginning of them, and it's starting to grate on me because I'm like, hey, I should be talking to these people so they remember who the fuck I am. It's just like trying to come up with something to say when the chaos is all around you and you don't really want to talk about it or can't is maddening. So I've had like nothing to say. But the brand
Yeah.
is, I try and be warm. I try and be friendly. Basically, here's what's going on, and this is what this is, and etc. And just be kind of matter of fact about things, and that's kind of the way I've kind of morphed over the years into this, and I think it works better. The other facade, the persona of the Fiend Master was fantastic for Twitter, when Twitter was back in its heyday and wasn't a useless toxic waste dump. That was a very, very good thing to have with the podcast, and it worked really, really, really well from that standpoint. So I hit that with both feet and basically just kept running with it as long as it made sense. And now it doesn't make sense, so I'd never go back to it. But that was how I got some success in the first place. Strangely enough, doing that corny shit. So there you go.
Well, you were able to authentically connect. It was fun for you, and people responded to it.
Yeah, and I think that's the important part. If you're having fun, the audience is going to know you're having fun.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a different animal. It's kind of like, with Scott Sigler, his brand is he just basically shouts a lot. He does all these other things, and he'll talk trash and make threats and all sorts of other things, and that's his brand, and it's fun. It's toned down a lot from what it used to be.
Yes, it is
way toned down.
Toned down very, very much. And he talks a lot more about his music.
Yeah, and he talks more about other things. So there's this happy medium somewhere where we all start out probably over the edge and have to slowly drag ourselves back as we go. And it just means that your brand can change over time. You may stop writing one thing and move on to another, and it might make more sense for you to kind of shift your brand a little bit in that direction. depending on what it is you're doing. But I would say trying to be yourself is definitely the right way to go. But I'm boring. Okay, fine. Let's talk about the things that aren't boring. You're obviously writing stuff that's not boring. So what's driving all this? Talk about things like that.
The amount of times you have to actually interface with people are small.
Sure.
Unless you're going to cons where you're face-to-face interfacing with people, you're basically only going to interact with folks over social media. And it's not too hard to come up with your own brand of quirkiness that is you on social media. Some people just hate meeting other people and having to talk. They think of it as marketing and they get all kind of weirded out about it. And this isn't, remember, branding, you're not selling anything. You are merely showing who you are. You don't have to have a persona that is, hey, yeah, buy stuff. Whoa. Don't do that. Don't do that. Just be yourself. People will corroborate, will find you interesting. The ones that find you interesting, they will find you.
If you sound like a local furniture dealer, you might have gone too far with your marketing.
What's that guy that used to do all the infomercials?
Billy Mays.
Billy Mays. You don't have to be Billy Mays. Don't be Billy Mays.
Please don't be Billy Mays.
No. One of the bits of advice that I got with, and it helped when you're separating, if you have a pseudonym, or if whether you're doing what I do, or if you've got multiple author brands, because you write in wildly different genres and you want to keep stuff separated, was pick 3 things that you or that each persona will talk about in social media. So, like, I'm active most on Facebook and Instagram. Why? Because they're easy for me. I can snap a picture and put something up there. And so with me for Instagram, I'll generally post stuff about crochet because it's pretty and I can show off pretty things I make. But for me, that's on brand. It's a cozy, slightly nerdy, boring, but sometimes it's pretty. But it's something I can put up there and say, hey, I'm working on this. I post about coffee. If I go to a coffee shop and I'm working, I post, about that. If I'm at a hockey game, I will post a picture. There may or may not be a child with me. And I'll get their permission and it'll go in there. But that's just, it's that mom persona. I don't do a lot of other weird stuff. I don't have time for TikTok. I know it's where a lot of authors are for the stuff I like to narrate. So my pseudo has an account over there. I have an account over there. Do I get over there often? No. Why? Because I need to work and not make videos and be all self-conscious about that shit. So it's true.
She says while she's staring into the camera making a video.
Screw you. I'm having a conversation. I'm sorry. Don't judge me for taking a half hour to do my makeup beforehand to show up here so I don't look exhausted.
There you go, Paul. That's the sign you have won that argument. When you get the screw you have won.
Yep. It's basically I have nowhere to go.
So when it comes to branding, here's the funny thing. The thing that a lot of people associate with me is a red dress. Mm-hmm. Okay. That was the biggest, happenstance. I'm not going to say accident, but it was literally, I was going to Balticon for the first time. I had lost a bunch of weight. Not in a healthy way, just obsessing and doing terrible things and relying on anxiety and OCD is never a good thing. It was not healthy. But I fit into a red dress. I went to Marshall's and had to get a dress. And I was like, oh, that's red. I don't have anything red. I guess I can try it on. I tried it on and it fit. And I was like, oh, this kind of looks cute. Huh. Okay, well, I can roll it up and throw it in a suitcase and shake it out and it'll be okay. And that was my thought. It's like, it'll be okay. And I think I have shoes that match. And I went to my first Balticon. And the first, I think it was one of the party nights. And this is when it was still in crap, the old hotel. I forget what that place was called. Um, but I remember putting it on and going, oh shit, I hope this looks okay. I was terrified. Absolutely freaking terrified. And I went downstairs and I was like, oh, and people were like, whoa, like, what did I do wrong? That was literally, what did I do wrong? Oh, I showed it. This isn't like riding up. It's okay. Okay. It was a $15 dress on a clearance rack.
And
lo and behold,
marvelous. You look marvelous.
It's thank you, but it's one of those things where now I have several red dresses. Why? Because people now expect me to show up in red. Thank God I look okay in it. Wouldn't it be awful? It was like some weird puce color that washed me out and made me look ill. Yeah, that'd be terrible. That's a horrible brand. Your brand should accentuate you, not make you run screaming.
So here's what you should do. And this is terrible advice. This is the terrible advice segment of the show. You should go ahead.
You prefaced it this time.
Oh, thanks.
You should go ahead and find a dress in both red and black that are the same style. Go ahead and cut them down the middle and attach them and wear them like Two-Face and like have one side be your Veronica and the other side be your Vivienne Ferrari and just go ahead both at the same time.
What makes you think I don't have two of the exact same dresses in black and red?
Yeah, but you haven't conjoined them yet.
Because I don't sew well, that's why.
Well, MG's great at everything. Just make the MG do it.
Oh, God.
Yeah, no. There's...
His handiness does not extend to sewing?
Fiber and yarn and fabric art are probably not in his wheelhouse.
There are professionals that could handle that for you.
There are. I've actually thought a couple times about finding someone who can redo the red dress so that it's more comfortable after 12 shit.
Lots of hours?
15 years.
Oh, 15 years. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. After, no, not 15, 13 years. Still. Yeah. But it was an accident. It was an accidental but fortuitous branding. And I leaned into it because it worked.
Is this something you're looking at altering, or are you now stuck with the red dress?
The thing is, it's an easy thing to stick to. Am I stuck with it? Sort of, because a lot of the Denise Lehman did my cartoon. She did a cartoon version of me in the red dress that I use for all of my Veronica branding because it's cute as hell. And I went and took the colors from that drawing, and those are my color palette. So I use Canva for a lot of my social media stuff because it's quick, it's easy. I've got to use it for some other things. And so it's one of those tools that will let you load a brand in. So I know what all of the hex colors are, the hex codes are for colors for my brand. I know what logos I have for my brand. And so anything I put out, still have one over here? I think I do. So this is old, but this is something I used to hand out. These are all the colors I have. There's the cream and the red. There are a couple, and the other shades that I have are coffee colors. They're varying shades of brown that complement the red and the cream because red dress and coffee. It's easy to remember.
This is true.
So yeah, lean into the brand. Whereas Vivienne is it's black and red.
Yeah. And to clarify, when I said stuck with, sometimes your branding sticks to you, not that you're trapped in it or something, or that it's a bad decision. But sometimes a branding is so strong that you can't escape it once it's attached to you.
I may not be able to escape the red dress. I don't want to, but when someone puts you as an answer on their Cards Against Humanity deck and it's just Veronica's red dress, you're kind of stuck with it.
I don't
But
think I'm going to be doing anything to change my brand for the next series of books that are coming out. I don't think there's any reason to do that. I've now got two basic different fandoms, but they join up, which is the Black and the Derelict saga. There's no point in trying to pretend to be somebody I'm not for either of those series. It's just no
and
point.
Shadow Publications itself encompasses both.
Yeah, and Shadow Publications encompasses both, especially now that the next Soul and Beyond book will be a Cooley gig. So without that kind of pressure, and just basically take it wherever the hell I want to go with it, which is basically just I'm a 53-year-old dude wandering around through the world trying to make my way like everybody else. That's about as much as I can say. But I still want to be known for tech, for science, for darkness when appropriate, and what was it? Everything dies, including death.
You highlighting that is actually an important thing we bring up. What we believe we are branding ourselves as may not be what the audience sees our brand as.
Yep.
True.
So
True.
let's go take a little exercise
Oh dear.
and see what the other hosts and the commentary folks in chat think our brand is.
Mm-hmm.
So, Paul, I'll start this off. I think your brand is edgy, dark suspense with horrific elements. That's what I see your brand as a writer. And as a person, I don't really know what your brand is as what you're portraying as an author. As yourself, I'm not really sure. I've known you too long, so I can't really get past that and see anything but you. I already know you, so I can't see you portraying yourself any differently as an author, other than when we first met and you went,
Was part of my brand, the cackling madman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I don't know what the audience sees. You can see the stuff in here, the jokes constantly about everybody dying.
Mm-hmm.
They obviously think you're killing everyone. If you're involved in a Cooley thing, you're obviously dead.
Well,
Yeah.
if I name you, if you're in my audience and I know you because you're a patron or an old-time fiendling or something like that, and I put your name in a book, chances are you wanted to be killed. So chances are that you were cackling madly when you read your own name getting snuffed out and you had a scene all by yourself with the Black or something else. That's all part of the service. But yeah, I tend to have high body counts.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the kind of books that I write. It's usually a survival of some kind, a survival situation of some kind. So that is a distinct part of my brand, I guess. And I won't fight that. But majority of my books, there's at least someone standing at the end.
You're not going to go ahead and do like Scott did and kill everybody off in one book? Literally everyone?
You do know there's a book called Extinction, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No response. Anyway, that is definitely part of my brand, is that people who know my books know that there's going to be a character that they like that isn't going to make it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as far as V goes, I've not read any of her fiction. I've heard her audiobooks. But
And but that's what my brand is for my narrator persona. The author one, I don't need another project.
Mm-hmm.
Sure,
the way that I see her brand in there is, I haven't listened to anything from Vivian, so I can only speak to Veronica. Is a perky, cheerful, outgoing. And that's the way you that's the way you put yourself out in the public when you're like at 20 books. And it is not you, and I can see that it is not you, and I know that it's not, but that is the brand that you portray.
because that's what's needed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so with Carrie, yours is Do not take that. I'm like,
Don't take this the wrong way,
don't take
but
this the wrong way, but no, you've got nerdy veteran dad energy.
I can buy that.
Okay, it's just it's not necessarily outgoing, but it's engaging in things that you're passionate about.
Mhm.
And with your stories, it's you want the military sci-fi version of the romance happily ever after.
I
The
do.
good guys win.
I do. I believe the good guys should always come out on top. That's
Yeah.
not quite the same thing that Paul does, but it works
no. And
for
with
me anyway.
Paul, yeah, and with Paul, there's I guess I associate more of like the psychological horror and suspense, because yes, while there's just enough, I know to be, if I'm reading or listening to one of Paul's books, I know to not only be concerned about what's going to happen on screen, but I'm terrified of what's happening off screen, because I know some shit is going down. Meanwhile,
back at the ranch, wait, what happened? What happened?
why is there a mound of bodies here?
Well, things
Yeah.
happened, it escalated, What are you going to do?
And then, like, and then, like, personality wise, like, you as a brand, it's that tech educated, how do I say? Trying to figure out how to say it.
That cat dude.
That guy. It's like it's a good kind of soapboxing. It's, if there's something that you need to speak, you need to talk about, you will get up there and speak your piece, and you're not asking to be judged on it. It's, this is how it is, and this is what I believe, and you can come along for the ride, or you can disagree with me, but this is what you get.
Fair enough.
So, oh my God, Antoine, this is good. Okay, so Terry asks his characters, "Are you willing to fight for what you believe in?" Paul asks, "Are you ready to die after you lost it all?"
Not wrong.
Hot damn, that.
And the answer is usually no, I'm not ready to die.
Mm-mm.
I'm not dead yet.
So I'm going to post this up here. What's it?
Was he really even army if Terry wasn't infantry?
My response.
Oh boy.
Wow.
It was between the armed forces. It was real metal shit. Jetty kitty bomb. Yeah, your brand is definitely cats.
Mm-hmm.
So, Paul, why don't you tell the two of us what you see our brand, author, narrator brand, and our personal brand? Talk to us.
Well,
Tell us what you see.
Now that you've got a sugar daddy, I don't even know what your brand is anymore. Your
Well,
brand
there you
is
go.
Cheney's sidekick.
Maybe that's my brand. I'm Cheney's. Well, he's the sugar daddy. What's the opposite of the sugar daddy? I'm a kept man. Is that what I am?
A paramour, I believe the phrase is.
I'll have to do some research and see what the proper term is.
No, I think your brand is basically just friendly science fiction. It's space opera. That is what you write. That is what you are in your persona and everything else. You're the giggling madman who enjoys taking people on voyages through all sorts of crazy and bringing them back in one piece.
If you're looking for dark and gritty, I am not your guy.
Right, and that's fine. But that is your brand. V, on the other hand, I like
Is dark and gritty?
Well, Well, so the stuff that I've narrated, so on all the stuff that I've narrated for Paul falls under the Vivian brand.
Right.
So
Makes sense. Makes sense.
yeah,
And I think as long as you've got those two different personas for the audiobook stuff, I think that's fantastic. And I think that does work, very much works in your favor. As far as your fiction branding, I haven't seen enough yet.
no. And the thing is, the
But
stuff
when I think
that
of you, I think of superheroes. So take from that one.
Interesting.
because that's what I wrote and what I narrated for the podcast for the longest time.
Are you going to
Whereas-
type? Are you going to type?
You got no thumbs. You don't got no thumbs. I found the N. I can type no. I found the N. I'm going to type it. I'm going to say it, Dad.
It has returned after eating. Jokes aside, I think episodes like this are good. Well, I'm glad, JR. Glad you're liking this one.
Well, it's important to think about the message that you send to people and your readers, because
One-
then it helps you. It helps you. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Finish. I thought
I
you
was
were
just
gonna
saying it helps you target how much or how little you need to share,
True. Very true.
because people don't necessarily connect with stories; they connect with authors.
One of the things I'm going to circle back to something that I mentioned earlier is some authors choose to be lightning rods in the public domain.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's your bag, embrace it, because you're never going to escape it. Once you go down that road of being a lightning rod, you will always be a lightning rod, because the internet is forever now.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to be outspoken in whatever beliefs you have that are controversial, you are going to have your audience, because some people will flock to you and other people will avoid you like the plague. So just keep that in mind if that's where you're going to go, because once you take a step down that road, you can't take it back.
Nope.
Read what you're going to write twice before hitting send. Lightning rod?
Lightning rod is meaning you're attracting the controversy. You're like the lightning rod, which is what houses have or buildings have, that the lightning strikes the rod and is grounded into the ground. So it is inviting the lightning to strike it. And that, in a personal sense, when you're a lightning rod, you are doing things that invite the controversy and contentiousness of that sort of thing.
Yeah, and for some people, that is their brand. And
And
they
it could
make
work.
and they make a point of using that to engage in social commentary or political commentary. And I think in some genres, people do well with that. In some spaces, you are expected to have an opinion and back it up in some things, and yeah. But be careful.
Be
careful.
cognizant.
Yeah, we can.
Maybe
Be
not be
cognizant,
careful.
be
Be
authentic.
cognizant of if you want to go that way, there's nothing to stop you. Just realize what you're doing before you do it. Hopefully.
Yeah. The internets are forever.
And another thing you don't want to do with your author brand is be a sleaze bag. You don't want
Yeah,
to.
don't be gross.
You don't want to go ahead and put out whatever brand you have and then do something in public that makes you a sleaze bag, because we've had any number of authors that have been successful and have just fallen off the radar because they did something gross.
Really fucking dumb.
And
Yeah.
and you can't shake that off either. I know I don't have to tell anybody don't do anything gross, but obviously some people let success go to their heads and they think that they can get away with anything. And it is absolutely not true. You are never going to scrape that off if you do that kind of thing.
There's always consequence.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily being sleazy in, the interpersonal relationship, sexual nature. It can be business sleazy.
Yeah.
It can be, there have been instances of authors creating dummy accounts to post negative reviews of other people in their genre to elevate their own titles. And that's, one, stupid, because why just elevate your genre as a whole? People want to read more. And two, that's being a trash human being.
There's the problem.
Use the time to write.
Yeah.
As Bill and Ted said, be excellent to one another.
With that, we're going to say the usual spiel, which is if you have a comment or question about this episode, you can send an email to show@debrobotssociety.com. You can find me on Mastodon at Paul_E_Cooley at VYRSE.social. You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/DRS Podcast, where we are live every Saturday, damn near every Saturday at 3 p.m. CST. Like and subscribe so you know when we're live. And if you want to support the show, you can find us at buymeacoffee.com/DRS Podcast and patreon.com/DRS Podcast, where for as little as $1 a month, you get access to exclusive live shows, which is coming up in 9 minutes, somewhere in there.
Where we'll be speaking about our secret names for our junk.
And at the $10 level, you get your names read. And our $10 patrons are Nate Cosby, Antoine Batts, Tony L. Joy, Rick Shaw, Lisa Slack, Isabel Cushy, and Tim Niederreiter. Thank you to all of our patrons for making this show possible. And with that, we are going to get out of here. So have a great rest of your Saturday, and we will see you next week.
Bye-bye.